Once again, welcome to this presentation. Today, we are looking at our first lesson in a subject called chemistry. And I really hope that you will enjoy chemistry and that it can lead you to where you want. Okay? Chemistry is an important subject and it can take you places. For you to become a nurse, to become a doctor, to become a dentist, to become a veterinary doctor, to become a biologist, you still need chemistry. So I hope that this first session will inspire you to read hard and understand the concepts or the content in chemistry as a subject. So being the first lesson, we will definitely need to understand what chemistry is. Why do we really need to study this chemistry? What can we become if we study this chemistry? And therefore, what are the available opportunities if we study chemistry? Those are basically our objectives, and that is the outline for this presentation. So chemistry is an important subject. It is a science subject. It falls under the same category with physics, biology, and other science subjects like agriculture. Okay? So what does it deal with? It concentrates on matter. Okay? It is the study of matter and how this matter here changes in different conditions. So, if I may have a recap, matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. So, what you see here, this is a pen. It occupies space and has mass. A computer, a phone here, and another pen, and a hard drive, and a chair and a table. This is basically a matter. Okay, they are matter. They occupy space and have weight. So what we are saying that with chemistry, we are looking at matter and how it changes in the different conditions. What are these different conditions? Conditions of pressure, conditions of temperature, conditions of medium under which this matter is in, and different other conditions. Okay, things that we can change. It can be changing volume, it can be changing matter's weight or mass, and then we see what happens there. Another definition, basically still less about the same thing, that chemistry is the science that deals with the study of matter and its composition, properties, and the changes under different conditions. Still, the key word in this is matter. Okay, so how this matter behaves under different conditions, and that behavior is what we call properties. Properties, what does it consist? Okay, so matter will always change. So it will change in terms of composition, what makes it up. Matter will change in terms of composition. Matter will change in terms of properties. Okay? So what happens? For example, let us use a simple example of water. What properties will water have when the temperature is 100 degrees centigrade? It will be boiling, isn't it? And what about when it is at 0 degrees centigrade? That's the freezing point. Okay, so it becomes ice, isn't it? Okay, So the behavior of matter under different conditions is what we studied in chemistry. Okay, I hope that is very clear. So when you study chemistry, you become known as a chemist. You become known as a chemist. So what are the opportunities that are available for you? You can work as a researcher. Okay, you can work as a researcher in different institutions, whether government agencies, whether it is in the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, whether you start up your own organization, private organization, or in academic institutions. What a researcher does is he investigates. A researcher investigates and finds out how certain things behave. In this case, what is the behavior on matter in different circumstances? Okay, so as a researcher, you can become an academician. This is to say that you become a teacher, whether at the university, becoming a lecturer or a professor, and you publish books and research papers as an academician at the university or in different institutions. Okay, you can also become what you call a material scientist. Okay, we use a number of different material for different purposes. How do we decide that this material is good for construction? And how do we decide that this material is not good for construction, for example? So a material scientist is the one who evaluates the properties of material and then be able to make a decision on whether this is good for this purpose or this is not good for this purpose. Or this building has collapsed because the material used is not good. Okay, so they run a number of chemical analyses to be able to determine the composition of material and be able to make recommendations on whether they are safe to use or they are not safe to use. And then forensic chemists. Chemicals can be used for good things and also for bad things. Okay, so a forensic chemist can investigate the nature of chemical that was used. For example, it poisoned someone. So a forensic chemist can be used in investigation of crimes. Okay, so that means that if you study chemistry at a higher level, you can become a forensic chemist. And then lastly, we use drugs to treat diseases, isn't it? But how are these drugs formulated? The knowledge of chemistry is needed for formulation of these drugs. And therefore, for you to specialize in that field of looking at the manufacturing of drugs and vaccines, and other medical or medicines, even herbs, you need to have very good knowledge of chemistry. So you can become a pharmaceutical chemist. So for you even to become a pharmacist, you need to have chemistry. So we have different branches of chemistry, okay? And at this level, you'll be taken through different topics, okay? And some of these topics are actually cross-cutting in the different branches. So we have 5 branches here. So all in your secondary school education, you'll have elements of each of these branches. Your content will have, or your topics that you will cover will have some of the, will be cross-cutting the different branches of chemistry. So you will look at organic chemistry, most likely in senior 4 or senior 3. With this, you look at compounds that contain carbon. Compounds that contain carbon, that's what you will study in organic chemistry. And then in inorganic chemistry, you basically be focusing on the remaining compounds that do not contain carbon. And often, you basically look at the metals, you look at the minerals, you look at the different salts. Okay, those are the things that you look at in inorganic chemistry. The study of non-carbon containing compounds. They don't have carbon. Okay, and then you have physical chemistry. With this, you're looking at the physical properties of the compounds in relation to their chemical composition. So you'll be able to know that since the compound A has the following, B and C, therefore I can be able to predict that when I change the temperature, this is how A will behave. Okay? That is what we call physical chemistry. Looking at the physical properties of the compound and relate them with the composition of the compound. What is within that compound? And then 4, analytical chemistry. Here you're investigating what is in a particular compound or what is in a particular chemical. Okay, so you look at, you want to know what is the composition. You look at quantifying the composition. So if you are saying that you have a compound B, what does this compound B contain? You don't know. So you want to identify what is there. That is what you're interested in. But after identifying, you say, okay, B has a substance F and another substance D. But are they combined with the same ratio? Do we have, is it a percentage of 50 here and 50 here? Or it is 80 here and 20 here? That's about finding out the proportion in terms of composition of the partition. So it's about quantifying how much do we have. Okay, so identifying, quantifying, and also separating these chemicals is part of what you call analytical chemistry. So you also look at things to do with that. And then lastly, you'll see, especially in biology, you will look at how does the living organism derive its energy. How do we burn, for example, glucose to get energy? When you take, for example, glucose, the ones you burn from the shop, and then you link, you get energy, isn't it? But how do we get that energy? There are chemical processes involved. Okay, so what are those chemical processes? The study of the chemical processes that occur in a living organism is what we call biochemistry. So there are a number of chemical processes in the body, and when we want to know about them, we study biochemistry. So why do we need to study chemistry? In chemistry, we are interested in knowing matter and its composition properties and how it behaves in different situations, isn't it? Right. But a lot of things that we have at home are actually coming from the knowledge of chemistry. Okay, if you just check your room, almost everything that is in your room is made from a particular chemical. That means chemistry is very important in making the things that we use at home. So what are the things that we use at home? Detergents. Whether it is a liquid soap, whether it is a detergent, whether it is a sanitizer, whatever you can call it, bathing soap, washing soap, whatever. These are made because of the knowledge of chemistry. So chemistry enables us to make detergent, soaps, and other cleansing agents. You might be using a candle, and that candle uses kerosene. Without kerosene, you will not get light from the candle. The knowledge of extraction of kerosene is from chemistry. Baking cakes or baking, they could be mandazis. It requires you to know the chemical composition of baking flour and how to mix them up to come up with sweet cake. And then you come even to the makeup that the cosmetics and other things, the petroleum jelly that you use. That knowledge of making those things comes from chemistry. We go to the garden. You apply fertilizers. The fertilizers are basically chemicals. So how do we make fertilizers? It requires us to have knowledge of chemistry. Still in the garden, you can have some weeds and you need to spray them such that they die. Herbicides are the chemicals that you will use to kill some of these weeds. That chemical is made with the knowledge of chemistry. Pesticides, the pests that destroy our crops. We use pesticides that are made because of the knowledge of chemistry. The dogs that we have at home, the pet animals, even the cows, the sheep, all the things that we rear at home. Sometimes they get sick and we give them drugs or vaccines. That is the knowledge of chemistry. Okay? When we become sick, we go to the hospital, we are either injected with the drug or we are given tablets. This comes from chemistry. Sometimes we get anemic and we are given blood in the hospital. The mixing of that blood, the way it is administered to us, requires the knowledge of chemistry. Okay? Even sometimes you have mineral deficiencies. You don't have vitamins. So you go to the hospital, they give you vitamin supplements. What you can call food supplements. That all requires chemistry. Let's go to the road. You want to drive your car, your motorbike, it uses fuel. You need knowledge of chemistry to purify the fuel and make sure that the fuel is good for the car. The plastics, the ones you use for taking juice, taking food, for carrying things, these are all made with knowledge of chemistry. Textile, soft drinks, the sodas that you take. Therefore, I can say that chemistry is very important in every aspect of our lives because a lot of the things that we use at home are made with the knowledge of chemistry. But also there are some chemicals which are not safe for handling with bare hands. So we don't want to be exposed to them because they are poisonous and they can cause problems to us, health problems to us. Therefore, we need to have the knowledge of chemistry to allow us to know how to handle them. And then we have natural resources, for example, minerals, even oils. Extracting these minerals and putting them to use requires the knowledge of chemistry. So chemistry is quite an important subject. So we have come to the end of this presentation where we have looked at what chemistry is. We have emphasized that chemistry is a discipline that is concerned with studying matter and its composition and how it behaves under different situations. It is very important that we study chemistry because it will allow us to become doctors, nurses, pharmacists, veterinary doctors, and many other things. Thank you.